Lucy is thrilled right now.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We tried to get in this nice outfit for everybody, but I think she sees a spider on the ground.
Dude, she's gonna rip your arm off. Let your cat go. Welcome to the finale of X-Men Evolution, episode 52, Ascension, part 2 of Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast. I'm JC. I got no fancy intros for this. This is gonna be an episode.
And I'm Rod, and my headphone cable is stuck between my cat's butthole. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
You got to keep going. This is your part of the intro.
Anyway, there you go. Okay. Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our weekly podcast series where we're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode we can find. This podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series, building up to the release of X-Men 97. Along the way, we launched our companion show, the Xavier Files, with interviews of members of the X-Men community, including voice actors from the series. And since season 2 of X-Men 97 is way a ways off, we're finishing up our first ever watch through of X-Men Evolution. This is the finale, the series finale, the season finale. And to our surprise, we mentioned this last episode, more of a finale than we were led to believe.
Mm-hmm. Some quick reminders. We are a recap show about a series that started and finished over 20 years ago. At this point, there are going to be spoilers. And if you don't want it spoiled for you, tough shit. You're listening to a spoiler podcast. Or pause the podcast, watch the episode, and come back. We're not currently sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel, Marvel Animation, Disney, Disney Plus, Hulu Plus, or I don't know anymore at this point in any way, shape, or form.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, and Blue Sky we're on now too, right?
Yeah, I should probably check that though.
I don't think anybody's been posting on Blue Sky. Like, I feel like everybody I know, and I think some of our mutuals have been posting, like, I'm on Blue Sky, I don't know what to do with it, but here's my thing.
So our friend from the X-Men community, Jordan Olson, I was subtweeting them, but I was also subtweeting like 40 other people when I put up the first post and I said, hey, we're actually on here and making a post so we don't have a blank profile. And she immediately responded to it. And I was like, yes, that was referring to you, but it was also referring to a lot of other people at the same time.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I posted on Blue Sky because I got either a code from you or our friend Phil, one of the two, and then I posted for like a couple days. And this was like before the last exodus of X Twitter.
Yep.
So it might have been like over a year since my last post on there.
Yeah, and then you could forget about that next part because that was a holdover from a previous script. Oh. Now, on to the show. Today, we are talking about Season 4, Episode 9, Episode 52 of the entire series titled Ascension, Part 2. It aired on October 25th of 2003, currently sits at an 8.5 star rating on IMDb, and I don't remember, what was the debut night of X-Men 92? Was it October 25th?
It was near Halloween.
Now I have to look it up.
I was also going to say, like...
Because as I was saying it out loud... No, it was on Halloween. It was actually on Halloween. So, almost 21 years to the day. It was just shy of... Or just off 21 years. So
also, it makes some part of my brain happy that there's exactly 1 year's worth of weekly episodes of the entire show.
Yeah, there is something special about that. So 8.5 star rating. I don't remember off the top of my head if that is the highest rated episode of the series, but it's definitely within the top 3. So yeah,
and no surprise from last episode, this is like my favorite. Like I also kind of combine both Ascensions. It's one story. Mm-hmm. This is just so fun. Like, it's the most fun I've had all season. I want to see this now.
So episode kicks off with a previously on, mostly the same one as the last episode. You get the Apocalypse upgrade. You see Xavier and Storm get Sailor Moon /captured. You see the return of the Sentinels. And then you get the Horseman reveal. One thing I realized we didn't talk about in the last episode is every one of the Horsemen got a spirit horse too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And
that's how they like teleported. Instead, it wasn't like they just directly flew. They actually like got like zapped over. So.
Yeah, and I referred to it at the beginning of that episode, but didn't get back to it. When you said Sailor Moon, it's like, at first I know it was kind of like a joke with the visuals, but them becoming the Horsemen, I mean, it kind of like, they technically did Sailor Moon, like, transformed into like other forms. So you weren't wrong.
Yeah, they kind of got uniforms, so.
Yeah.
So the episode begins. All the teams are essentially approaching. As that's happening, Logan is, to your point from the last episode, giving his big leadership rallying cry. Essentially, basically, any way we can, we need to go through, and we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, and they specifically at that point like show Spike and Storm. And it was like, oh, you're going to have to kill your relatives is what we're saying.
I didn't write down the Spike and Storm, but I'm sure that visual was shown. There was lots of really thoughtful visuals during the approach. Like the one that stood out the most to me was like angry Xavier.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it was like Xavier and Jean or something. But like at that point, like we realized like of course everybody's kind of close in this, but there was someone emotionally attached to one of the horsemen in every group. Mm-hmm. For that to happen. And I said this in the last episode, the writing, how thoughtful it was. Really great speech from Logan, and it worked as a voiceover. Mm-hmm. But then when it revealed him talking, they gave a logistical in-universe reason to how that was happening. Like he was actually over like the comms.
Yes.
And not just like speaking into the universe and everyone kind of gets it.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, oh, this was the speech that he was giving when they were on the jet. It was like, no, we're all about to go in. Some of us might die, but I need to keep everybody like pumped right now because this is going to be the worst fight we've ever had. Because you got to remember, most of the team here, the people who were at the season 3 finale, they all got wiped out with like the flick of a wrist. Like they've seen Magneto get taken out. They've seen Xavier and Storm get taken out. And then they just got knocked back with an energy pulse last time. So
yeah. And then Jamie's there, and he's like, I haven't even gone through puberty yet, and I'm fighting this world-ending war.
That bringing that kid probably is an awful idea.
Right.
So we kick into the animated intro, and I did watch it one last time because it's probably going to be a while before I rewatch Evolution, just being realistic on it.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't notice until I watched this episode last night, they did distinct visual flares under the names of different characters.
Oh, okay.
So like when Spike's name is there, there's like a little spike that shoots through, or like when Beast is there, there's kind of a crackle explosion of the letters on Beast's name and things like that. Not everybody was as prominent, but that was something that 52 episodes deep until I picked up on it.
Right.
So.
I probably watched this intro total of 3 times in 52 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So after the intro, Jean is doing a telepathic communication to Xavier. They get into a psychic fight with each other. Magma goes full magma. That's just magma, as Rod refers to it. And you get a moment. I had to actually put on the captions. Boom Boom calls Colossus Tin Grin.
Okay. I didn't.
I did not know what the phrase was. I was like, what the fuck did she just say? And it was Tin Grin. And she makes a giant energy ball that she gives to Colossus to shot put at Xavier. And it actually whacks him and does a little bit of damage quickly.
Yeah, I guess it's a nice little twist on Fastball Special, right?
That's what I put. It's like a pseudo Fastball Special. Yeah.
Was that supposed to be a play on with like Rin Tin Tin or like, I don't know.
I got a little more of like Tin Man as in Wizard of Oz, but yeah.
Okay. Or is it just 2 words that rhymed? They're like Tin Grin.
Yeah. Well, because whatever Boom Boom says, it needs to be pseudo condescending.
Yeah.
So
you got a pretty smile.
Jesus. That is not the context of that, Rod. Going over to China, Evan is pleading with Storm. It does not work. She proceeds to make an ice storm around Bobby, which is... I feel like of all the choreo of this entire one, the one that made the least amount of sense to me was the fight choreo in China. Because Storm is making an ice storm. Bobby is able to make a dome of ice for them to hide under. And then I put Berserker as an idiot because he's having a lightning fight with Storm.
Yeah, and then that was another one of those times where I'm like, let's just have to not think about the powers here, because I was like, is his powers tied to electricity? And then
kind of.
Okay, sure,
we've gotten that from him before, but it literally, especially 2003 era, so even written in 2002, we had all heard of Pokemon and played Pokemon a few years prior. This is Pikachu fighting a Raichu right now. Like, you could keep zapping her all you want, Pikachu, but you're gonna die.
I mean, that kind of works in every parallel, right? Too, because like Iceman is like only one aspect of another opponent that has like the whole gauntlet of powers and stuff.
Yeah, and then Spike gets kind of like his major line of the entire episode of, don't hurt her. She's a victim in this, like we all are.
But my only problem with that line was that like directly went against the whole spiel that Logan had just given. Like, we're gonna have to do anything it takes, and he's like, "It ever hurt my hand."
But I think that kind of like speaks to Spike, though. Like,
yeah.
Not to say that Spike is weak in any way, but Storm is his weakness. Yeah. So in the same way, maybe Spike being there could influence Storm. You also have the converse that he's not willing to go all out on Storm, whereas I think if Jean had to, I think she would kill Xavier.
Oh, yeah.
Scarlet Witch, I do think would kill Magneto if a worse came to worse scenario, but I don't think Spike would ever take out Aurora. Yeah. Even if he could. By the way, he doesn't use his fire spikes at all in this fight.
Right. And but I also just realized, like, I guess he's supposed to represent the Morlocks then, right?
Yeah, no Morlocks were included in the fight.
So I guess he's the Morlock representation in this group. But yeah, the fire spikes might have, or maybe that was on purpose because he's like, he doesn't really want to hurt her.
Because it would be fatal.
I guess, but they don't know that yet. Like, but she seems invincible at this point.
Mm-hmm. Jumping down to Mexico, Wanda is pleading with her dad. She almost gets squashed. Like, Magneto's going for blood. Magneto has no problem killing his daughter here.
Yeah.
But she gets saved because Kitty phases her, and then we see the Sentinel begins to rebuild itself.
Yeah, I loved Magneto reanimating the Sentinels. Once again, like, it's finally a fucking superhero story.
It's so funny because like we talked about, like I was excited for it because I do love some of those comics where it's very much the relationship and the kids in school and stuff like that. You're like, I want to see a motherfucker blow up.
Right. Well, and it's the action, but also like kind of I don't know if there's a better way to put it, like the espionage of it all, like just the I don't know, the thriller kind of part of like superhero stories, like cool. Like the action, the Michael Bay action of seeing the Sentinels was cool, but just the concept of Magneto finally thinking about, like, oh right, I can take all these Rebel parts and make a big, like a mech, myself. Is like, yeah, you could do that all along. Like,
why haven't you been doing that? When that one tried to kill you a year or two ago, why didn't you do that then?
Yeah.
Logan, Cyclops, and Nightcrawler make their way down into the Sphinx. And they give us the reminder about the enhanced powers because Logan can't sense Mystique at all because of the changes that have been done to her because of Apocalypse and other stuff. And then there was the cool moment with the water where it totally reminded me of the Jurassic Park, like the cup in the SUV.
It did like a double subversion for me.
It did.
Because as soon as they showed the water, I was like, oh, it's gonna be Mystique, and then the ripples came. Like, oh no, it's just something else is happening. And it's like, oh, it is Mystique.
Yeah, Mystique coming out of the puddle, and then she like gets shot through the stomach by Cyclops and is totally fine. She is basically Clayface at this point. Like, she has the Batman, the animated series Clayface. She could do whatever the fuck she wants right now.
Yeah, because that's two insane things that happened. Because it was one thing to accept that she became animals, plural.
Which was already really far for both you and I. But we dealt with it.
Yeah, it went from animal to animals. And now
at one point, she was that big scary monster in season 1.
Yeah. But now she's just going to be water?
Yep, literally transformed into goo.
And then Cyclops doing what he did in 92 to Sinister.
Yes.
And then she's just like, right.
She reforms and then turns into a bunch of bats.
And luckily by then I just like had let go.
Yeah.
Of all of it.
That's fair.
Sure. But I had more of the question at that point. It's like, okay, so what happens when one of those bats? Because at one point, like, they close a door on the bats. It's like, if that bat got squished, yeah, she got an eye. Like,
Well, then he transforms into goo, and then from goo becomes a part of her again. It's if you separate the goo, it's the issue.
It's like a Venom symbiote thing.
Let's not besmirch X-Men Evolution by talking about anything to do with your knowledge base of Venom. Apocalypse is in his formal wear. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Sure.
I found out what that headdress is called, by the way.
Oh.
It's called a Nemes. Okay. Nemes. That is what the Pharaoh headdress is called.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah. So
or I did when I was in 3rd grade and I've forgotten.
Dude, I've never heard that phrase in my entire life before. I learned that on Wikipedia today. So, nice. So Rod, for the clip, make sure you explain that and then use the more you know across the bottom for it. And we've educated people using the X-Men.
Nice. in 3rd grade education.
Come on, man. Modern 3rd graders don't even know where Egypt is right now.
I just think there's a lot of stuff that we knew. Is like, I think I saw a meme reaction video with Dr. Mike, and one of the meme, I don't even know it was a meme, I think it was a video clip, and it was like elementary school kids answering like biology questions, and he didn't get a couple of them. And it was like, yeah, that is just this thing that we learn all this stuff when we're really little, that although, yeah, you should be presented at some point in your life, like, will never come back up again.
Why did I have every other year for 8 years lessons about chlorophyll? That has never impacted my life after I got out of high school and didn't have a test on it again.
But now we know what the powerhouse of the cell is.
That's not chlorophyll.
It was mitochondria. But
yeah, okay. Just making sure. I was making sure you weren't totally throwing our education bit out the window.
I was educated in Indiana, guys.
Chlorophyll, the powerhouse of the cell.
I think I found a second clip.
So Apocalypse is there, and he begins turning on the pyramids. That the best way to describe what he was doing at that point?
Sure, yeah.
Now, back over to Mexico, Sunspot. I was like, who the fuck is SS? Silver Surfer is not in this show. Sunspot is able to save Wanda. Kitty is basically saying, like, you gotta stop, you gotta forget that it's your dad, and then Kitty got just whacked and knocked on her ass.
Yeah, there's so much. Absolutely, I'm glad that you kept track of this because there was so much action happening. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna keep track of all this.
Yeah. Then Scarlet Witch is actually able to get a good zap on Magneto, and keeping track of choreo and reactions during the fight, the Sentinel begins to fall apart. But at that time, the pyramid top starts flying off into the air from Apocalypse's activation.
This was a great visual because, like, they essentially like ascend into the atmosphere. I think Beast says, like, oh, they must need to
they need to be in the higher atmosphere, was his specific phrasing,
to affect the entire world. But then they split apart into like hundreds of satellites,
mini pyramids. Yeah, like it was great visual.
So it creates like a shield around the world, or I guess like what's the reverse of a Faraday cage? It's like a Faraday cage, but that's actually made of electricity. So it's not keeping out electricity. It's just like it's like a matrix or something.
And made a spider web.
Yeah, there you go. This is how we bring Madam Web into this. Speaking of Venom,
no, I said spider web. There is no spider in that fucking movie.
Yeah, I don't know where else to insert this little funny story, but I had tickets for Craven on opening night, which, to be fair, was also Friday the 13th. I think that's funny. I didn't expect it to be good, but I'm in it. I was ready for the cheesy movie because I feel like that's what the trailer gave us. And I have AMC A-list, so I'm not like paying extra for it. It's just to make that clear.
Yeah, but keep defending your bad decisions, Rod.
And I was fully gonna I got my edibles planned and everything. I'm gonna have fun with this. I was gonna walk to the theater and stuff. And I got an email last week, so roughly a week before the showing, that they straight up just canceled the screening and refunded all our tickets. So anyway, now I'm going to see it across town, not because I want to go across town, but because I'm going to be somewhere else for an event anyway. So I still want to see this damn movie, but I think I found out later a mutual friend of, I don't even know if you know her, but a friend of mine, sent me an article where they said that Craven had 1,000 theaters taken away because of ticket sales.
Taken away?
It's 1,000 less than, Madam Web or whatever the last, bad villain movie was.
A major film is usually trying to open in 1,500 to 2,000 theaters. So if they dropped 1,000, that's a That's a sign, man. That's like Red 1 numbers.
And I just got a did Red 1 do bad? I thought it was pretty good.
Red 1 did not do well.
It's good for a bad movie. Anyway,
Wicked beat the shit out of it.
I mean, Wicked. Well, I was gonna say Wicked beat the shit out of everything. Moana.
No, but Wicked and Red 1 pre-sale estimates thought they were going to be kind of neck and neck, and Wicked just decimated it.
Yeah, so. I mean that makes sense. Wicked is just such a well done. Which also like another kind of like little tie-in. So John Chu, who did Wicked or directed Wicked, he also directed the Gem movie that was
awful.
Technically a musical too, and probably one of the probably the worst musical that's ever been made. Which is kind of hope for anybody. Like you can still. You
could be better than this.
But also the best. Like I think Wicked is on track to become like the best performing like film adaptation of a musical ever. But the reason I connected that is like I keep saying like now that the last 2 episodes of Evolution have happened, I want to see this show. There's the same thing with Gem. Did you ever watch Gem? Any part of it? If there's anything to, if you ever see it on streaming, just the after credits. So in the after credits, do you remember the original show for Gem?
I mean, I haven't watched it in decades.
But you know how there was like the other rock band out with like the punk rockers, the Misfits,
right?
Yeah. So at the after credits of the Gem movie, that was not worth watching. I'll just be straight up for that. I have friends that worked on that movie and they agree with me.
You just punched those poor people in the face when you saw them after.
Well, one of my friends, actually, I won't even say what they did on it because I don't know what people figure out. But like, I was like, so this thing, I was trying to like be polite about it when I saw him. He's like, I didn't even watch it, man. I knew this was going to be a piece of shit. We're like, okay, cool.
But anyway.
But in the after credits, Kesha shows up as the leader of the Misfits. And she's like, I forgot what the catchphrase was, like, we're better or whatever and stuff. Okay. And then it cuts to black. I'm like, I want to see that movie. Like, I want to see the movie where, like, Kesha is the leader of the Misfits and then has to fight, like, or whatever, compete with Gem or whatever. But that was the after, like, why did the best idea come at the end? Anyway, same with Evolution. It's been fine. I don't begrudge the high school stories, but if they had the talent and the resources to do this well thought of like superhero story, and then we're finally seeing it, and then it's over.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of like how we got teased with Jupiter's Legacy, that Anna Akana was going to be like this major character in season 2. And then it got canceled, and Anna just was like, so here's what my story arc was going to be.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I never ended up watching that because I was going to wait till like the season wrapped and then it get renewed. And I was like,
it got killed like right after, same as Cowboy Bebop. But X-Men. So we see all the mini pyramids that are spreading and makes the big web, and Jean gives the very stereotypical "we're too late." Inside of the Sphinx in his like little control room, Apocalypse has a great like Minority Report visualizer of everything that's going on with like holograms in front of them and stuff like that. And you see images of the pyramids and everything like that. Then you find out that the last 3 Sentinels are pursuing up on the helicarrier. I do love, and I don't know if they put this in the other episodes, Fury is specifically biting on a toothpick. Oh. And I love that because it's very similar to what they've had to do with Logan in the cartoons. They can't have them have signature cigars. Because Fury was always a cigar guy.
Gotcha. So they have to give him another oral fixation.
Exactly. So toothpick. So he's on the helicarrier and he goes into a room, and that's where you do see where Rogue is. So after Logan said, I got a mission for you in the previous episode, this is actually the first time that we see Rogue is with Fury, from like why she's not boots on the ground with the rest of the team.
Another little great storyline that I love, because at that point I was my mind was going like, wait, what could her mission be then? Like if she was, are they going to try to get her to absorb Apocalypse's powers? Like it was so exciting, like to finally watch, you know?
When he said it, I got the vibe it was to find a special person. That was what it was for me. It was you're one of the only people who could pull this off, and you have to find a person in particular.
Gotcha. Yeah. I guess just when I saw her in the shadows, I was like, man, like what's her deal going to be now?
So Sentinels are there. They're starting to blast. And then Bobby Bobby got a little bit of a power upgrade because he freezes Storm and just encompasses her in ice.
This was the start of where I was just like, everybody's just killing each other, right? Because
they got it. What else is happening here? Yeah.
Because that looked like in any other show, like a fatal thing for Storm, right?
Yes.
Because both claustrophobic and being frozen.
Well, and then not just being frozen, but frozen, and then while in a solid form, just smashing onto the ground. Like, I'm pretty sure the reason why helmets and body, like, padding is supposed to be padding and have give is because if you're in it when you take an impact and it doesn't have give, it just literally puts the force directly into you from the impact anyway.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was a similar thing. Have you ever been up in the St. Louis Arch?
No, I have not.
So I went to college near there, so we used to go to the Arch all the time. When you get to the top, what a lot of people don't know until they visit is it sways from side to side. I think like 7 or 8 feet. Somebody's going to correct me on that. You can feel it.
And not insignificant amount. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they even tell you if you're claustrophobic or you have motion sickness, like, be cautious or don't go up. Yeah. But they tell you that's by design, because if it doesn't, it would just like just fall.
Right.
it's supposed to like sway. Yeah.
I mean, props to the people that were smart enough to come up with that, because otherwise that would have been a really fatal mistake.
So the first time they built the arch, it didn't meet at the top and they had to start over.
So Beast gives the order for everybody, like, this isn't over. We got to destroy the bases. We can't depend on what's going on above. We have to stop it at its source. Storm bursts out of the ice cube and then has power shooting from her whole face.
Yeah, once again, doesn't matter what the powers are.
Mm-hmm. Very quickly down in Mexico, we see Magneto drop Sunspot, and that's the last piece of the episode where he's relevant. I don't know why Angel is even there.
Oh,
he did nothing.
Yeah,
he literally did nothing. Kitty and Havoc have their quick moment, and they're going to open up a wall in the side of the pyramid. Then back in Egypt, you have 100 multiples that are all getting little slingshot balls from Boom Boom. And then Xavier kills a bunch of kids.
I saw it's like he like stabs them all through the chest. It's like what was it? Star-Lord's dad with the arrow.
Oh, the whistle? Yondu's thing?
Yeah, Yondu's thing. That's basically what he did, but with like a telekinetic saber thingy or something. I don't know. Like, it just went, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about Multiple's power set before, so we know that he's not actually like dying, but like, as long as the Prime Multiple doesn't die,
yeah,
then you're okay.
But he didn't know that.
But if he had gotten lucky and killed the right kid, they all would have dropped.
Jeez, it's so dark. Up until that point, it was a really fun sequence, though, because I like the thing of Boom Boom just being like, here you go, here you go, here you go.
Yeah, it was like a conveyor belt of her little explosives.
It reminded me like a Chippendale, like not Rescue Rangers, but the OG Chippendales, like stories. Something that would happen with them, like with acorns or something. Mm-hmm. It's very whimsical.
It's very whimsical until you kill the children. Not Cyclops. Colossus starts headed to the pyramid. He's going to charge and get through. But Xavier is able to drop both Colossus and Magma. And that's when Jean finally determines that she needs to put on Cerebro to go head to head to even the odds. Actually says sorry before doing it. And then it becomes a ghost fight.
Yeah. It's not really astral plane. So.
Right. But it's like psychic form or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I thought it was interesting from a design perspective. Did you ever play the game Dead Space?
No, I've seen the trailers and stuff for it, but I never got to play it.
So I've never played it, but I've seen enough clips of it. It looks like the aliens from Dead Space are the ones that are fighting or that Xavier's form takes, where it's like the hook arms and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Inside of the Sphinx, you have bats that are chasing Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine. Rod doesn't get his wish that one of the bats that is, Mystique's left arm gets caught in a wall. They do get a quick moment where it's, all right, Kurt, go ahead and scout. And he teleports through a wall, there's an awkward moment for Wolverine. He's like, where is he? And then you see on the other side of the wall that Apocalypse just straight up knocked him out.
Apocalypse killed him. Like, there's no world where a guy like Apocalypse doesn't just murder someone that's in his way, especially that close.
Right. And then literally the moment after that where Logan tells Cyclops to help cut a hole through the wall, Mystique drops Cyclops from behind. If this is really a horseman of Apocalypse, she would have stabbed him through the back or something. Maybe it wouldn't be fatal, but it would have been like the spike thing through the side that he has to eventually recover from, you know?
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, when the Storm got frozen scene happened, I was like, that was the moment, like, everyone just starts dying. Like, Storm, Jamie, Nightcrawler.
Lots of Jamie.
Yeah, lots of Jamies, Nightcrawler, and then Cyclops. Like, all of them are just, like, you know, the writers were like, they all died. Mm-hmm. And then the censors were like, let's roll this back just a little bit. I'm like, they're sleepy. Like,
and then we get the fight that I don't think we've really gotten to see in the series before, which is Wolverine and Mystique as, you know, two master assassins, warriors, whatever you want to call them, square off with each other.
Yeah.
Up in space, the Sentinels are taking down the arrays, and Apocalypse calls for Magneto to go up there and take care of it.
Yeah, and then that's when Wanda wakes up from getting quote unquote knocked out, and
Kitty's still knocked out.
Yeah, tries to get Kitty to wake up. She's like, "This is our chance." Mm-hmm. I guess they were just so confident that they had killed all the X-Men. And
then I love that the solution is so fast, and this is where it's like, I guess Trask only got like, you know, $40 million and no other resources because he only had like 9 total or 12 total Sentinels.
Yeah.
Because Magneto is very quickly able to go up and just fuck them all up in space with basically no effort again.
Yeah.
Wanda is trying to stop the beam that's going from the pyramid up. Magneto comes back down, and then you get the reveal, Quicksilver with the last second save that stops Scarlet Witch from being crushed.
And this is where Apocalypse gets his free jet.
I actually wasn't expecting the Brotherhood to come. I thought whatever the scenario was, that they would just remain like little shit heels without a redemption arc, honestly.
Yeah, I just thought it would be because budget. But this was a nice, like, when I say trope, I don't mean it's predictable, but like a nice, you know, when you see a good heist story, there's like things you want to see in it, you know, like Dane Cook back in the day joked about, like, there's always that guy that someone's like, you can trust him, you can't trust him, you know. And so this one is like, this is the guy that's like, or the team, I guess, it's like, we don't want to go, but it's
and
good
then they show up.
It's good that they did that because everybody got taken out while they weren't there. But I love that Toad's like, we bumped a jet and we made it.
Yeah, at first I thought he said we bombed the jet, and I'm like, how does that work? Lance does see Kitty knocked down, and that's where it's like, all right, well, let's do this. And Magneto throws the jet at Blob.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. But then Lance is actually able to drop Magneto with his powers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then that wakes up Kitty, too. Mm-hmm. The earthquake, I guess.
Apocalypse is in his cradle. It's not a bed. It's like a cradle or something like that. Yeah. And then proceeds to set off like lasers.
Yeah. I've lost track of like how many times he's like started processes in this.
Yeah. He needs a simpler format for how he does this shit.
There's like 20 stages.
Yeah. But by doing that, the lights that are going from the pyramids turn all the web above into like black, and it begins to envelop the world. So there's lightning that's happening worldwide. You have it in New York City, London, and then I think that was supposed to be like the beach from Hawaii that Havoc was hanging out at.
Oh, okay.
Or, I don't know, maybe that was where Magma was, she got her powers in Bermuda or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, somewhere. Did they ever really say where that cruise was going?
They said it. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
We were angry from how that felt from a time frame perspective. Logan and Mystique are fighting. There's lots of like stabbing to no effect, and then Logan falls down a hole. You get more of the Jean and Xavier ghost fight. The Shield had two vibes for me. One, it felt like the Phoenix logo vibe.
Oh, okay.
But also the classic Superman logo, which is not the one that we're used to. That's like this thing.
Yeah.
It was a little bit closer to a shield, and it very much had that visual vibe for
Gotcha.
it. So
I was going to say, in this moment, Jean like temporarily defeats Xavier, like almost like not takes him out, but like kind of slows him down a little bit because she knocks him back into his body, right?
Right, and then she also sort of faints, and when she sort of faints, then you see this kind of moment that doesn't actually have a payoff, where the Xavier ghost kind of jumps towards Jean, essentially. So.
Then
that's where we get a great moment back over in Mexico, where it's Toad saying, "Did we win?" Oh, right, we never win. And then Magneto is able to take the back of the plane and cut himself out from under the trees that he's underneath. It was such a good moment for Toad for the finale. So
it's a funny line. I still want to give him enough credit. Well, I guess I was going to say the mall, but that was more Wanda than them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he was there, but he didn't win.
Yeah. And
so
the Beast has like what I kind of equated as like kind of the Tom Holland Spider-Man moment from Endgame, where like he radios Wolverine. He's like, "We're not gonna make it."
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoa, they went there with this kid show."
Yeah. Well, because he literally saw it's like Berserker get a moment where he looked like he was taking out Storm, and then Storm just hits him with water and he overcharges. And it's like, wow, if your power is electricity and a little bit of rain fucks you up, you should not be a superhero.
That would be me.
Yep. Mystique then turns into a bunch of snakes.
Sure, why not? At this point, they could be flying snakes.
I mean, they could.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It could be flying water snakes. Like snakes made out of water.
They could be flying water snakes made out of water.
Yeah, there you go.
That's terrifying.
Just compound.
We get the big reveal that there is the fourth copter or fifth copter. Rogue lands and Cannonball is there, and that's where we get Leech. I totally was not expecting that to be a part of this episode.
Same. It was so exciting. I was genuinely excited when that happened. And I still didn't know what was going to happen because Rogue says like, "This is as far as you have to go." I was like, are they going to try to make him upset to EMP again or something? Like,
right. And it's an interesting version of Leech because he kind of like decides when he does the power versus if you remember back to the awful X-Men The Last Stand, it was essentially whenever somebody was nearby, there was no level of control. It was just proximity turned it off. This version has kind of like an on-off switch with his power, even if he's not good at controlling it. And I like that the mom is there because it was that whole like, it's okay, Mrs. Leech. This is as far as he needs to go. And then the mom gives him the sign of like, yeah, it's okay. This like try to succumb him. It's like before a kid gets a needle, basically,
Yeah. And it's not like an easy thing because you see Leech kind of like pass out from it.
Yeah, it totally knocks him out. Yeah. I mean, and you got to assume like, he is a child. He's not one of these, teen soldiers like we're used to. So this is probably the most strenuous thing that he's ever going to have done. Cannonball grabs her and they fly off. In the Sphinx, Logan is escaping escaping the Cobras, runs towards the door, and that was where I was telling you there was no middle for Mystique, because Mystique literally goes from Cobras directly into Panther form.
Sure, the Panther. It's just so random. I mean, all of it's random, but like,
yeah.
At that point, she's just flexing. At that point.
Yeah. And as she's about to land on Logan, Rogue comes in, hits the power, shuts her down.
It's interesting how she's able to control it because she almost has it like directed. Like she can like shoot out the deactivation of powers or something.
Yeah. Logan cuts a hole in the wall, sends Rogue through it, and as he's about to step through, the still depowered Mystique is still ready to fight him at that point.
So that's an interesting thing that they established there, was that even without her powers, Mystique is just like super strong.
Not just super strong, but also like a dangerous fighter. Like,
yeah.
You know, when Mystique was doing all of her stuff during the Crucible episodes, she was fighting Storm. She was not using her powers to her advantage. It was like literally just like, I'm going to be a badass and I'm going to try to stab you multiple times.
Yeah.
Is your cat going nuts right now? You keep looking down.
She's like walking around my feet and stuff, so I'm like...
So Rogue is in the main chamber thing. She steps over Nightcrawler and is able to stop the webs. And then we start to see across the world, it looks like the powers that are overtaking the Four Horsemen all kind of fall apart. She's able to use Leech's power to basically shut everything down tied to Apocalypse.
It was interesting to see the technovirus stuff like fall off. I didn't perceive them as patches until that.
I didn't either. I thought it was like in them, like kind of like the technovirus is a perfect description. Like it had like developed in their skin rather than being like I said, it was like a fucking nicotine patch on their face.
Yeah. Or like what is the is ECG the right word? I don't know. When you're in the hospital and they have to keep your vitals, you know.
Yes.
Stuff like those patches. It seemed like similar to that because it had like little strands attached to them.
Yep. So the lights start shutting off in like China. Storm falls. Jean saves Xavier from like crashing and falling on his face, basically. And Mystique passes out in her spot with Logan. Rogue and Apocalypse kind of have their moment, and you almost got a replay of what happened in Apocalypse's debut, where she gets close, he grabs the arm because he's playing possum, and then she's able to use the pieces of the arc to like trap him back into it, assumedly because with the power shutdown, that also means all the power that he absorbed from her originally, he's not able to access in some capacity. Kind of seals it up like an egg, and then Logan jumps on top, tells her to turn all the power back on, and then you start to see the power emanating from within the arc. So
I'm assuming that was just like everything surging essentially, right?
Yeah, it was like a power feedback loop.
Because otherwise, I was like, how did that work? But yeah, and then the little vessel thing just like disappeared, and I love how
because
everyone there was like, we don't know what happened.
Well, because they did the thing of I'm going to destroy the controls, which in real life just makes controls light on fire as opposed to making a thing work.
Yeah. You know, maybe the one floppy disk was there.
And it was like, where'd you think he went? Hopefully he fell through the cracks of time, never to be seen again. And he picks up Kurt, and Rogue is like, yeah, I don't think that was what happened.
Like she's a real one right there.
Yeah, she's like, that's some wishful thinking, Logan.
She probably ended up where Kang was in 92, right? The insane Kang in the cracks of time.
Oh, yeah. What was that called?
The Axis of Time? Axis of Time. Yeah.
Yeah. They begin walking out of the Sphinx, and they have like do you think we stopped it in time? And if not for the final scene, that like ambiguity would have probably been a great cliffhanger into season 5 of did they stop it in time, or are we going to see a bunch of mutants start popping up across the planet?
Yeah. And like Mystique tries to make up with Rogue and Nightcrawler, but good for them. Even Nightcrawler's like, fuck off. And then they teleports away.
It was literally, you don't even believe your own bullshit right now.
Yeah. I love that. Because she's like, how far things have gotten, that she...
I mean, she literally was selling out her daughter in the previous time they had a real interaction. But then they give like that little like lingering moment of they teleport away, and then she has a pissed off look on her face.
Yeah, it's a little, just in case we get it next season.
Exactly. You get some great moments that pop up. You get Magneto with his 2 kids. You have Kitty and Lance walking up. Blob is carrying Angel to the jet.
Yeah.
Again, Angel did nothing. Angel did not deserve to be here other than they wanted everybody represented. I do not know why he was there. You get a moment with Storm and with Evan. And I don't know if you saw it, but at the bottom of the screen, as they're like having like the little like family moment, Bobby gives like a thumbs up, like just in the lower part of the screen, like where it is right now on our camera. It's like, this is how much you see from it.
That's funny. I didn't catch that.
Yep. Boom Boom definitely wants to fuck Colossus.
I like it. I ship it.
And Jean helps pick up Xavier, and they have like the hug between the two of them. And then we get the goodbye speech, which, considering the context of Wolverine and the X-Men, I don't think that can happen in that show.
Okay, I don't know.
Because I don't think Xavier appears in it, candidly. Like, from what I've heard, like...
Is Wolverine and the X-Men supposed to be a successor to this?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I don't think Xavier is in the show, and that's a part of why it's called Wolverine and
Gotcha.
It's just funny because 92 ended with an Xavier moment. This ends in an Xavier moment.
I mean. This was the still that I saw a few weeks ago that I mentioned that was the spoiler kind of screenshot for me online, because I think it was the anniversary of the end of Evolution.
Yes.
And so one of the big comic book or gaming sites had posted that, because it had everybody in that big shot.
Right. So you're talking the final screen.
No, the one where Xavier's giving the speech and it pans through,
by the murder gazebo.
Yeah, the murder gazebo.
Yeah. He gives the speech, and it's essentially, we survived, we were made stronger, steel is forged in fire, lots of very, very stereotypical phrasing, but all very appropriate for it. But then he goes into a dark place, which is, I saw inside the mind of Apocalypse as to what our future was going to become. And we get the anti-mutant protesters, which we had only started to really see this season. Like, this was kind of that first moment. And there was a sign that literally said, like, mutant registration now. So it was, like, full on, like, Trask and the Friends of Humanity, and that vibe started popping up. He saw enemies become friends, and you see a Danger Room scene where it looks like Magneto is doing training with the New Mutants specifically, which does harken back to something that happened in the comic where he was training the New Mutants. And Rain, Wolfsbane, is there. She's back.
Not wrong.
And then it was really, really quick that Jubilee is actually in that shot too.
Oh, I missed it.
It is a flash. She's there for like a hot second. You see, friends become enemies, and they show Jean what she becomes as the Phoenix. And that is something I've seen two different sources for it. One, specifically, the X-Men Evolution Wiki stated that Boyd Kirkland, who was the director, confirmed that Dark Phoenix would have been in the next season. And I can't remember what the source of it was, but I saw a interview that mentioned our buddy Stephen Gordon also said season 5 was going to be involving the Dark Phoenix. So
that'd be a skip, though, to go from Jean just to Dark Phoenix instead of having the whole regular Phoenix thing in the middle.
I think it would have been over the entirety of the season, for what that's worth. I think it probably would have 13 episodes to get there, which is doable if that's your core focus of the season, But
my note here was like, wait, Xavier knew Phoenix was going to happen? Just kind of chill about it?
He's very chill about it, apparently.
Like the amount he's tried to meddle and everything else in the series.
But he's cool with that.
This is
talks about how proud he is to see the growth and change. And then you see, a grown-up X-Men team, which... very specific stuff in there. X-23 is in the shot.
Yeah.
By the way, none of these future images, Logan is in a single one of them. He's not there.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
There was...
Doesn't make it.
Where was it? The Marvel Animated Wiki said that Craig Kyle, who worked on the show, said that she is wearing a black armband for her fallen father, which is supposed to insinuate Logan. Again, I don't have the link to that source, but I'm just crediting the proper wiki that said it. But it would make sense why it was. The only thing about that shot that I did not like, because they actually did the black costumes, which most of the comic readers would identify as Ultimate X-Men costumes. They did the thing with Storm from Extreme X-Men that I hated, where she has like the headpiece that like covers her cheeks partially, like the Gambit cowl. And I've never liked that part of the Storm outfit in Extreme X-Men.
It was so small and so quick that I didn't really get a good look at it. But so I guess they just got her silhouette because she had like her longer hair on the cape and stuff.
Yeah. And then there's also and then we find out that some never change. And I referred to them as the Fuckboy Brotherhood with Pyro standing in front of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is Freedom Force, by the way.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
In the comics, there's a storyline where Mystique's Brotherhood basically gets amnesty by working with Val Cooper for the American government. And the name of the team is the Freedom Force.
Kind of like their Suicide Squad.
Except they're not trying to kill them in their missions, but it's a government sanctioned team of mutants essentially. So, yep. And then we also get the Nimrod Sentinel reveal too, which I kind of dug. I dug that version of Nimrod more than I dug this version of Sentinels. So,
I didn't love the Sentinel, but we also didn't get to see a whole lot of them. And also, I'm so partial to the '92 Sentinels. I don't know. There's like, and you can barely see them. It's right there, next to the. Yeah, it's just blurry.
If you're watching the video, Rod is going to put a quick shot right here of what he's talking about.
My buddy Tim, who sent me the Sentinel. Actually, can I? I'm not going to do it here. Yeah, I'll just insert it later.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
But I forgot I had that back there. Yeah, I'm just partial to that because it's the first one I saw, I think.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's iconic. There is a reason why, even though it has iterations in the comic where there's like upgraded versions of Sentinels and stuff like that, they really always look like that at their core. So
yeah,
yep. And then, it ends with Xavier basically saying, we're just always going to be ready, and I'm proud of everybody. And then you get the big group shot, and in that big group shot, you see basically every major character outside of the Morlocks is there. You have Gambit there, which I don't get why Gambit was there. Like, here's the thing. I get why Colossus was there, because at least Colossus was in this fight.
Yeah.
Gambit doesn't deserve to be in that lineup.
He just heard Rogue was
even Angel, who did nothing, deserves to be there, because at least he tried and he didn't do much, but he tried.
Yeah.
Gambit was a no-show.
Gambit just heard. He's just there for the after parties. That tracks.
Yeah. So that is the end of X-Men Evolution for us. Before we get into kind of like our final thoughts, just a few other quick notes. There is no Mystique in the future flashback or flash forwards either. So that was one thing that stood out. Stephen Gordon confirmed, apparently, again, according to the Marvel Animated Wiki, that the jacket that Rogue is wearing in the Team Future shot is actually Gambit's coat. There was talk that, in addition to the Phoenix story, Apocalypse would be coming back in Season 5. Also in Season 5, there were notes that you would have seen the debuts of Emma Frost and Betsy Braddock, also known as Psylocke. And the most major character to not appear in this episode was Sabretooth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we didn't get the last hurrah for those two lovers.
No.
Yeah.
That's where they are. It was not safe for the censors.
Yeah.
They're in a cabin in Canada, and they finally worked their shit out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it's wild, man. Like I'll from a visual perspective, this side right here are all my evolution notes, and then I have to count the number of pages to see if I could fit all of Wolverine and the X-Men in the second half of this moleskin.
Yeah, so. I just see. I have 74 typed pages for evolution of notes.
Oh, you just have an ongoing draft, basically?
Yeah, I just have X-Men Evolution notes. I had the same thing for 92 and then for 97. Yeah, it's wild that, like, I guess I never actually expected to watch this show until this podcast. Just because I didn't have a sentimental attachment to it. I really liked where the beginning was for us, where we're just like remembering high school shit, and then
for the first 2 seasons, this was high school trauma. The podcast for us, it was great.
And then, but I think what really sealed the deal for me being like, okay, I understand why people like this show was this last season, and specifically the last 2 episodes. It's like because we did get some of like the superhero stuff, and this ending was really well. Arguably, I would even say, like, as much as I love the original 92 series, might be better of an ending than the 92 series, because it seemed intentional. The animation quality didn't like have a drastic shift. And I would also say, I don't know if there was any change in animation teams, but it felt a little more anime to me this last 2 episodes than the previous. Maybe that's just my imagination because of the actions happening.
Yeah, I think it was just way more action-packed, honestly.
It started looking a little bit like, why can't I think of classic animation from when we were like teenagers? Aeon Flux. Not quite as stylized as that, but just the way like people were starting to like stretch and get kind of lanky and stuff. It was like, oh man, they were like a little bit more of a budget, and it would have been there, you know?
You might have porn-colored glasses on if you think Aeon Flux had good animation. Those are those crazy French dudes who, like, I don't know, that show. I still have a nightmare about Aeon Flux once every 3 years. So
I guess I'm just saying, like, I just like how stylized that show was, you know? And then Evolution was I was like, fairly safe for most of its run. And then, like, this last season, especially these last 2 episodes, got a little bit more like stylized, it felt like, but maybe that was just everybody on the team knowing that they're going to give their all for these writing, animation, acting, everything. Like, was like, okay, we're going to go out with a bang.
I appreciate that the motorcycle is going by right now as I'm getting into my deep thought. I appreciate that the team had enough time to give it a good ending.
Yeah,
because like we said, you know, everybody kind of warned us going into this that there was a cliffhanger. To me, this is not a cliffhanger. This is they have a launching point if they wanted to do a season 5.
Yeah, it's like a
versus like like I said, I literally thought it was going to be like, oh, Apocalypse succeeds and the big web is there. I thought that's how this was going to end. I didn't know how we were going to get that big group shot, because the group shot is what did get spoiled for me, because that has been shared a million places.
Okay.
So I was like, or was that just like a promotional art piece that wasn't in the show? But I was trying to figure out how that was going to get there, and it was still a cliffhanger. It wasn't the cliffhanger for me. So it's kind of like, I'm glad that I was told that, because it ended up being like a better finish than I was expecting, because I had lower expectations for it. So
yeah, like I feel like this was like this was a complete show to me. Like, obviously I want to see more, but like I don't know if you ever remember the show The Black Donnellys. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see it. Apparently it didn't.
I don't think I remember that one.
Apparently it didn't do too well, but essentially it was kind of like the Irish family version of Sopranos.
I've heard of it. I just never watched it yet.
I watched it when it was happening because I was like, man, this is too far for me to get into The Sopranos. But a news show about a crime family. And apparently it was based on the kind of like an urban legend, true-ish story. Okay. But the real Black Donnelly family, like the entire family lineage gets gunned down to the back of an alley. And so that show, the first season, and now it's only season, ends with the entire family getting cornered into the back of an alley, and then the show got canceled. And we were like, motherfucker, like, you couldn't have just one more filming day. One more filming day. Or even if you don't want to film them, to black, and then sound effects.
Yeah.
Something. I know that they did that way so if they had a second season, they can continue the show. Yeah. But I was like, I emotionally invested into the show in real time. It's not finishing. Yeah, I thought it was going to be something like that. We're like, wait, what?
So, favorite character of this series? Because obviously I don't think it's Storm, because I don't think it's your favorite portrayal of Storm.
Yeah, it's not Storm. It's Storm by spirit, but yeah, not this particular portrayal. Man, as much as favorite, so I've heard some friends say, a lot of our friends say they love Kitty and Kurt, mostly the relationship and stuff. Kitty was a little annoying for me, but I guess if I was younger, maybe I'd think differently.
Kitty started annoying for me, and she got better in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I feel like she had an arc from it.
Mm-hmm.
I love this version of Rogue, man. Like, I see why, like, some of our friends, especially in, like, the cosplay community and stuff like that, love this Rogue, honestly.
I see that only because I was never in the whole, like, Charmed, like, you know, fan base and stuff, but she was so close to that tracks for me. She wasn't necessarily my favorite, but I totally understand that. As much shit as I've given her, I guess I'm just, like, I would say, like, Mystique was probably one of the most interesting characters in this because of how off the hook everything was. And she had probably the most drama out of everybody, maybe second to Magneto. Like, because that woman had like a soap opera like arc, like, because she like literally died and came back a couple times. Yeah. And it was like super powered.
She had the you know, the abandoned baby, and like everything hit the fan with the stepkids, fucking the DL lesbian girlfriend that couldn't be talked about in the 2000s. Like, everything got hit. Like, that was fucking it was not Days of Our Lives. What's the weird one?
I haven't watched any of them, so they're all weird to me.
Oh, there was one. Now I'm blanking on it, but there was some daytime soap opera that was just fucking weird, and there was like a talking puppet and shit. That is Mystique's life.
Okay, yeah. And then with this last couple episodes, as bizarre as the turning into animals thing was, outside of like preconceived notions of her, it was a cool visual, and you know, like not that I want to see
Passions.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
One of the characters was a fucking talking doll. So
sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Mystique, like I could see if that version of Mystique ended up becoming anywhere near like a canon-ish character, I could see them doing that animal scene in live action like they did Nightcrawler in one of the X-Men movies. Was it X3 that Nightcrawler had that opening scene in the White
X2.
House? Was it X2? Okay. That scene being a cool scene of like or even like a Quicksilver slowing down time kind of thing. I could see like them taking that version of Mystique and making a live action like animal morph fight sequence or something being cool. Right. So I don't even know if that's necessarily my favorite character, but it's like, man, that's the one I would probably talk about more than others from this show, just because, like you said, everything.
I also do really, really like that they did not stick to the revised design that popped up during the season 1 finale. Oh, yeah. Where like she went to Rebecca Romaine and was like sort of scaly and stuff. I like that they took that back.
Yeah.
So really, what didn't get resolved in the show? One, we never found out what the fuck was up with Kelly.
Oh yeah, the principal. Oh my god, I didn't think about that.
There was a thing where he could not be possessed by Xavier, and then that got thrown out the window, and then he tried to become mayor, and that was it.
I guess he was just supposed to be like as much of an annoyance as President Kelly was.
Yeah, but it was just really weird to me that there was like they planted the seed that Xavier couldn't get in his head.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I feel like there was something deeper that they nixed.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a storyline that was cut.
We never found out more about the Morlock Berserker relationship that was kind of hinted at when there was like a they knew each other vibe. Was there anything else that was like really didn't get resolved in the series?
I mean, probably.
Because we got the resolution with Storm and with Evan, at least in this episode, because they were back together at the end. You know,
even as much fun as we made of like Boom Boom and stuff, she came back, so that's something.
Yeah, she was always around. Like she was on the fucking cruise with them.
We don't know why or where she was like hanging around and stuff.
She's a barista right now.
Right.
Like she's just like, oh, I could work 3 hours a day and then fuck off. Sure, whatever.
So yeah, the Kelly thing, man, I'm not gonna be able to let that go now.
No, the Kelly thing is the one that bothers me because it feels like that is the only that is like dangling.
You know what is wild is I forgot.
We actually never saw what happened with Nightcrawler and his girlfriend.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I guess you just assume they broke up because it was too awkward, right?
Yeah, because her parents were like, no, we're moving to another state.
Yeah. You know, one of the reasons I forgot about the whole Kelly thing is if I were just to see these last 2 episodes and then watch the first episode of the series, I don't think I would think it's the same show.
That's fair.
I mean, obviously the character designs are the same and stuff, but Have you ever seen those memes of like, try explaining this to a Victorian child, you know, something in the future? Like,
oh yeah, explain Grubhub to a caveman.
Yeah, or like someone was like, I had to charge my cigarette, or I had to charge my telephone in my couch because the couch had like USB ports and stuff. Like, try to explain. I feel like try explaining this finale to someone who's only seen the first episode of Evolution. Is like, wow, what? We can see because it happens so gradually. I'll give them this: they have pacing and gradual, like story arcs down. Like it happens so gradually. I didn't notice this became a completely different show. But yeah, wow, what a what a crazy thing. Anyway, who's your favorite?
Well, for me, Rogue is the favorite.
Right,
I mentioned Boom Boom a lot because I like Tabitha as a character in general. Mm-hmm. She was a great supporting character, and I'd say from like all the secondaries, she was my favorite of the secondary group. But Rogue just nailed it, man. Like the voice actress, like it was just so good. And probably my secondary was Kitty. Like I said, I didn't love like Kitty dropping Freak and stuff like that in the early episodes because I was like, oh, you're kind of like self-hating right now. Mm-hmm. But she matured. She still makes bad decisions because she's still like hooking up with Lance. But you know, she grew and she matured, and like, you know, as much as I love the episode we did 2 weeks ago with Kelly, it was a Danny Moonstar episode, but it really was a Kitty episode.
That's true.
Yeah.
What happened to Danny, man?
Danny went back to her grandfather before the world ended.
There you go. That's what we'll go with. I guess.
They didn't want to take the girl who'd been in a cave for 2 years to a fight a week and a half later. That's my assumption.
Yeah. I guess I didn't have that off the table because they brought like a 12-year-old.
I think they all really secretly would be okay with Jamie dying. Okay. Least favorite or weakest character of the show?
Ooh, least favorite. Who was my...
Not Jamie. You can't say Jamie.
No, I actually kind of liked him a couple times because I think he was funny at least. Because every time I think of somebody I don't like, I think of a reason that I was like, oh, they were funny at least.
Yeah.
I feel like Blob might have been the most like vanilla.
Interesting.
I mean, he did stuff, but like, I feel like you could have taken him out and not a whole lot would have changed. I guess if I were really to make a hot take, Mystique probably would have been my least favorite as well, just because like how much she threw me off. Is that a right answer? Like,
yeah. I would say for me the disappointing character was Wolfsbane.
That's true. Ronnie. Rain.
Rain or Ronnie. Yeah, I call her Rain. It's how I've always said it, and I'm probably wrong, so I apologize. No, because
it ended up being Rain, right? Because they only called her Ronnie the first time or something.
I don't remember at this point. Yeah. They've called her both in the show. That's the confusing part. But like, she's such a cool character when done right, and this show she had like a moment in that episode where they're in the woods, and that was like it. Like even Sam got a little bit of an episode, but like she was just like, I turn into a wolf. And then obviously like Jubilee had a little bit of a cool moment in the episode where they were stealing the van and being, you know, menaces. But I feel like there was like, she was so one dimensional. She was just like, I'm the party girl. And like, it wasn't the mole or like the mole rat or anything like that. Like, it was just, she was about as weak in this show as she was in the live action X-Men stuff.
Happy New Year's, everybody. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next year with Wolverine and the X-Men. And once again, just a reminder, we're going bi-weekly. But thanks for joining us on this like evolution trip. It was our first watch. Also, thank you to everybody watching. We somehow went through this without getting it spoiled for us, by you guys at least. Some images on the internet. Like
the fact that the ending was such a shock to me.
Yeah.
Like, props to people, because we have, you know, great people who are popping into our comments on YouTube and on Spotify. Nobody ruined the show for us, so that's very much appreciated. And it was funny because there was somebody who was like kind of alluding to like Age of Apocalypse, and I was like, interesting, and then it didn't become that, and I was very happy it didn't become that.
Yeah.
So.
I guess also now that there's comments on everything, you know, answer the same questions like who's your favorite characters, least favorite characters, all that stuff. Because you probably remember better than us. Definitely me.
Somebody did hit us up on Instagram, and I apologize for not remembering your name off the top of my head, but they were asking if I had read the Evolution comics, and I found out there are only 9 of them.
Oh, okay.
And they're not going for a lot of money right now. I think they're coming in at like basically what the cover price of a brand new comic would be today. Mm-hmm. Like they went from like a $4 comic to a $5 like back issue. So I may try to find those.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad. I was just telling a friend I got a worm light for my newly purchased Game Boy Color, and my friend's from Sweden, and he was like, "Oh, that must have been expensive." I was like, "So it's funny is it was 4 times the cost it was in the '90s. I think it was like $5 in the '90s, but now it's
but it's 4x, but it's still not expensive.
Yeah,
so.
Like, it was like $25, but it was like, but it's horrible, but it's nostalgic horrible, so it's perfect."
Right. It's not the other side of the 90s where the Phantom Menace toys came out. And now if you were to sell those toys, you would be selling them for the exact same price that you bought them for in 1999, sealed in package. They're going for $5 each right now.
That's so funny. I might actually look for an Amidala then, because I had that with the little talking card thing.
I'm talking the original series, because there was the ones that didn't have the talking card in the first release.
Oh, I didn't know that. I maybe I just didn't keep up with it. I think the first one I got was the one that had, well, they weren't the talking, they were like cards that you had to get something else to scan.
Yeah, it was like an e-reader thing. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure you drop them into the comments for either the YouTube upload, the official Instagram post, or the Spotify of this episode. If you like what you heard, we would appreciate a rating on the podcast app of your choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, and CastBox. And honestly, rate us just because Rod's holding a cat right now.
Yeah, my Christmas tree came back. She's ready to eat.
The Christmas tree is going to murder you. It's going to be great. She's so pissed at me right now, too.